Hello, I'm Bryan, Chief Design Officer for Matchbook Learning. I speak 3 languages, English, a bit of Spanish, and a lot of Southern. So if I mispronounce something today or if I need to catch you up a little bit later, I'm happy to do so. We at Matchbook Learning are a national nonprofit. We serve the bottom 5% of schools in the U.S. So we often go in when schools are on the closure list and we try to think about how can we rapidly catch up kids who are multiple grade levels behind and not just solve the proficiency argument, but also solve the growth argument and make sure those measures are making an impact in some of the communities that need it the most. So over the time that we've been an organization, we've rapidly iterated on what we think is our Spark Accelerator for rapid transformation. Now, Spark is our competency-based, personalized, blended learning platform. Our Accelerator is borrowed from cross-sector industries. So if you're familiar with startup accelerators that get a lot of smart people and resources together for about a year, and then they launch a product after that year, we wanted to see how quickly we could catch students up using our methodology that we've iterated on for the last 5 years. It is critical for these kids that we don't go year to year on growth, or they will never catch up. So what does this look like, and what do we mean by Accelerator? 3 pieces. It's a cohort-intensive model over 18 months. We want to build the capacity of the users through our Spark platform. So we do work with schools on the ground in a boot camp structure, but if you're familiar with Summit's Base Camp in the summer and doing an immersion technique and then supporting that throughout the year, we felt like turnaround schools required a different treatment. So what we've done is build capacity through badges. And we studied deeply the badging phenomenon over the past few years and historically. A lot of what's out there in the space right now is take this badge on Friday, and on Sunday you'll be an expert in professional learning communities. We didn't believe that. We wanted to treat our adult learners through a framework that builds their capacity to accelerate turnaround schools. So we borrowed from the National Baldrige framework, and we said, look, leaders have to build results. They have to figure out strategy to engage process. Customers and design thinking have to be at the core of it all. We have to know what the data management process is, and we're often dealing with human capital issues in cities that need us the most that we've got to rapidly improve. So we took that framework and we developed a passport system with our badges. And we did it for every role in our organization. You could not only be a teacher, but you could be a teacher leader. You could go to be a principal. You could take badges as a technologist. And what we did with these passports was put them in the actual learning cycles that our students go through. In our cycle, you learn and practice, you conference with peers and each other, you apply that skill through a performance task, and then you're assessed at your various competency levels. So in taking that methodology, what would that look like for adult learners? We spent a lot of time thinking about how you would create your own badging system through mastery, autonomy, and purpose. So it wasn't just the badges we wanted you to learn. What if you were taking a course outside and you wanted to bring it back through that system? Then we could validate it, we could coach it, we could support it. And as we began that work in Washington, D.C., we went into one school in particular for our prototype that we were also co-joining with our schools that we ran in Newark and also Michigan and the school that we'll be moving towards in Indianapolis. And we said, what are the types of roles that people want to play? And what types of competencies are they seeking to master, to have autonomy for, and that ignites their purpose? Now, all of us played Light Bright as a kid, so you can imagine taking 3 or 4 of these competencies in one vertical and also adding to your game in 2 or 3 others. We wanted to grow employees in our organization up and out. We wanted them to go on to be leaders of other places in the country or other districts. And then when we had openings as we expand and grow, come back to us because they've added these skill sets to their work. All of this happens on Spark. Spark began as our student-facing platform that would mimic some of the competency-based platforms you've seen in the space in terms of visualized data and showing progress monitoring and tracking. But we wanted them to also go through as adult learners, learning in Spark and forming those habits to practice their own competencies. So if you look at a Spark dashboard, at the top, there's learn and practice. You're going through various learning objects to go through a process to see where you are, a pre-assessment. Then you have the opportunity to conference with individual teachers or students to check and validate that learning, and then you can apply it again via a performance task. Now, both for kids who are doing this with rigorous assessments in the assess phase and adults who are doing it in 90-day cycles, they learn the very technology that they will begin to prepare students on in a competency-based world. We also put a lot of time into the pathways around competency. We couldn't have just adults learn in an 18-month process to be proficient to turn around a school. We really had to go deep with how could they get that school to higher performance levels within 3 years. Many of our nation's schools that are closing are in turnaround. They've got to pull kids out quickly from their circumstances to give them more opportunities. You've heard a lot at the conference about experiencing the work as a learner or a student if you're an adult. Spark has enabled us to do that through a rapid 18-month process. As I close my comments, what you'll see on the timeline is a mix of blended and virtual and face-to-face behaviors. So we have boot camps on site at the schools we serve, and we work with individuals over a 2-day process to take them through the badging process. Then we support them virtually through campfires on the web and on Spark to build their capacity moving forward. This is the timeline for our DC school, and we are moving into this summer to make 3 moves forward on our scale. We want to prototype this work and move it to a service for Matchbook to turn around our nation's schools. We want to do further Spark development, and we want to make the teacher-centric workflow a big part of what we're building capacity for. As you think about the presentation today, it really doesn't matter how far we make progress in what amounts of times for various audiences unless we're willing to do something radically different. In the words of Yogi Berra, if you want to do something different or you want to make sure that you're doing something different than you've done before, then you've got to do something you've never done before. Thank you.